Hello, everyone. It's me, Andrew. I'm here at Star Cottage Studio. And yeah, it's a beautiful day today, a busy day, lots of meetings. I feel as though my life is becoming like one continuous Zoom meeting, which is interesting and fun and different. I used a face cream that made me break out like super crazy. I had a allergic reaction to it. So that was not super fun last night. My whole face was all red and looked like I had rubbed it on the concrete. So I don't know if it was the face cream or if the cats, we took them for a walk outside yesterday, and I don't know if they um, got into something, like poison ivy or poison oak or something. And then I was like snuggling their little fuzzy bodies, and then like craziness. Luckily, I took some antihistamines and it went down. So, and I like scrubbed my face super hard with some industrial strength soap so that any kind of, if it is like a poison ivy situation, those oils or whatever are not there. Anyways, enough about that. How are all of you out there? Hopefully, you're having a great start to your week. We've had a fairly productive day, I think. We're talking about working in on a space in Johnstown. Now, what that entails, we don't really know yet, because it kind of part of it determines if we can find a space, and then the other part is how much resources we want to devote to that. So we're in the early stages, and I say early stages, but we've been working on this since I think January. But we're working on with some different folks on potentially doing something in Johnstown, which is nearby. And the cottage is kind of in between Johnstown and Ligonier. So we're hoping to get that going because that would be super exciting. And I know people are like, "Oh, how are you going to do everything? How are you going to do everything? You're overworked as it is." Luckily, we have a nice support system that we can kind of draw on, and it's something that we eventually kind of have to think about. Um, the bead business is so feast or famine, and it's so roller coaster like, um, that it's good to have not put all your eggs in one basket and kind of have diversified revenue streams. So it is a project that we're tentatively working on. And I don't know if I really should be talking about this or not, but I am, so I am. So anyways, that's something that we're in theory working on. So yeah, and one of the other things, Kristen just confirmed that she's going to be here. Kristen Fagan from Softlex, when Cynthia's here. I think Tuesday and Wednesday of that week. So yeah, and then I just got off of the messenger, and my friend Jenny, she's an enamelist. She's going to be coming in on Sunday, and we might do a little surprise. I guess it's not a surprise now since I'm telling you all, but it's she'll be doing a live with us, so that'll be fun. And talk about her work and who she is, and yeah, I think that'll be fun. Kind of a little bit of a live uh, uh, allegory gallery interviews, and we might do a podcast too, or just repurpose the content. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so that will happen this Sunday. And I don't know the specifics because we just have to, I don't know her schedule yet. So there you go. All right. Um, I see a couple people watching. Hey, Suzanne. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Betty. How's it going, Betty? Marianne's watching. Howdy. Norma's watching. Howdy. I finished painting the root babies finally. So those will go out soon. I made those root baby pendants, and then I just now finished painting them yesterday. So I just need to sign them, and William will be here tomorrow, I think. So we'll be able to hopefully get those out. Our shipper is out right now, so um, so things are a little bit delayed. So just keep that in your mind that things are slightly slower than normal. Um, Not too bad. And William's been coming in extra to help make up, so we're not super swamped. Especially because the GB is coming up. So if we don't have all the decks cleared before that, it gets kind of nightmare time. So we're trying to do everything we can to make sure that everything is ready to go sooner than later. Lorraine is watching. Teresa's watching. Oh, thank you, Michelle. Michelle says, I bought 2 different peridot from you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Janice is watching. And Norma says, yay, root babies. Yeah, it took longer because I couldn't find the paint. I guess that's what happens when you move stuff around and organize. I organized my working table and I couldn't find anything. So I finally tracked everything down and got to work. So today for our project, I don't know if I should keep talking or not because sometimes it's good to have people trickle in. You know, William's really good about doing the talk and letting folks kind of meander in, as they say. Um, but yeah, so today I'm going to make a little monster creature, and I'm going to be using manik-manik beads, which are Indonesian lampwork glass. And if you didn't see yesterday, we had a sell down on them. So William showed a bunch of different strands. And if you want, you can watch that on the replay. And yeah, so there's some left. I know we pulled what we could yesterday directly after the live. So if anybody wrote after that, I don't really know. But I think I have lots more. So yeah, message us or send us an email. That's info@Aloe with your selections from yesterday's video, and we'll get invoices out and shipped out. So that's pretty cool. All right. Marianne says, I do that all the time. Organize and then wonder where I put them. So a lot of times my organization is not really organization. It's kind of like scoop it into the box and then set it aside. But true organization for me is when I kind of live with stuff for a while and things kind of naturally gravitate towards certain things. Like they find their homes. I don't know if that's how you all organize your studios or not, but I found that if I try to force stuff, it gets a little bit not right. Like I shouldn't say it gets a little bit not right, but it just doesn't flow. It's kind of like when we were setting up a kitchen in New York when I used to work in the restaurant industry. And you kind of had to be in the kitchen and be in the space to know where to put the anti-fatigue mats and the non-skid mats and where to put the trash cans that made sense and with the ergonomics of what level it is. So we're working on that kind of in the cottage. So, you know, it's a process. It's not an event, it's a process. It feels like a series of events, but it's really a process. All right. Michelle says, I do the same. Lorraine says, you got me at Monster. Oh, good. I hope people enjoy this. This is like a little fun thing. It's not anything serious. So if you're like, I only want serious designs, I only want the most serious things, then this video is not for you. And it's okay if you turn it off. You're not going to hurt my feelings. But this is a little bit of fun. And I thought it was a little whimsical. And I had the idea in my brain yesterday when we were looking at stuff. So I was like, why don't we just do it? So here we are. Marianne says, I have been invoiced and have paid. Awesome. Thank you. That was quick. Susan says, hello, all. Yeah, we were on fire yesterday. So right off the live, we gathered everything up and William made his spreadsheet and it just like boom, boom, boom. I was like, is this what it's like to do these things for real instead of time, however else we do them? All right. So I should probably always mention this, but if you're ever looking for anything, you can take a look at our website. That's allegorygallery.com. We have thousands and thousands of items there now, and they're not all on the first page. Imagine that. So you do have to use the menu bar, and that will drop down and will be your gateway to adventure. You'll see lots of different things available. And we add stuff probably every day, if not every other day. So there's tons of stuff and it's constantly changing. So I recommend enjoy that because it's a labor of love and there's a lot of energy that goes into doing that. And it's a really wonderful resource, I think, for beading and bead shopping. So hopefully you all take advantage of the website. That's allegorygallery.com. And you can see our online store. And yeah, that'll be super awesome. I should also say that what we have, if you're local, what we have in store is sometimes different than what we have on the online store. And because we've separated out the online store shipping from the physical store, there are two different inventories. So if you're in store and you're like, oh, I didn't see XYZ, it's probably because it's just in the online store only. So keep that in mind, and kind of vice versa. There are lots of things that we have in the physical store that we don't have online. And for some of those things, you can always go to our store tours that we do. We just finished one up last week or the week before where we took people around and showed them the shop, and they could shop in real life. If you want a dedicated shopping experience, you can always schedule one. And if you go to our website, that's allegorygallery.com, and scroll down to the bottom of the page, there is a place that you can sign up to book an appointment, and we can take you around the store. I know some of the folks watching have called in before, and William's taken them around and snapped pictures and sent pictures and go back and forth and all that good stuff. So keep in mind that there are options if you aren't physically local. We can still be your local friendly bead store. And then for our videos, most of those videos, if you send us an email at info@allegorygallery.com, then the world is your oyster. You can be like, hey, I'm looking for some yellow beads, and we can be like, yo, we got some yellow beads, what kind you need? And we can hook you up that way. So enjoy that. We also do these videos, and I probably won't be selling anything in this video, but William oftentimes shows things, and you kind of have to play along with that particular video because sometimes there are lot numbers. Sometimes for a while we did screenshots. We're trying to streamline it and make it easier, but at the same time, like somebody was like, how come you don't just put it in the online store? And we have so much stuff that if we did that, it would be crazy making. And also some of the stuff that's like 25 cents and things like that. By the time you pay somebody to take a picture and write description and add it and upload it and edit the pictures and all that stuff, you're making negative $6. So, some things are not gonna make it to the online store, but that's why we have all the other options. All right. So I have a bunch of other folks watching, and some of them I think may be spam. So I'm gonna have to do some things here. I see Robin's watching. Hey Robin. Hey Harry. So let's block that. Sorry. And let's delete that. All right. So I hate to do that, but I don't want you all to get like compromised or whatever. But it was somebody sharing some kind of herbal treatment for their chronic illness on the surface. So, anyways, if you're watching this, you're probably like, what the heck is he talking about if you can't see it? But that's why I'm like, what's happening here? So hopefully I took care of that. I blocked and banned them from the page and removed the comments. So hopefully everything is okay. All right. Hey, Debbie. Hey, Susan. All right. Who's ready? Who's ready? So we've got some fun things going on today. And yeah, so let's get to it. I was trying to think of if there was anything I wasn't saying that I was supposed to say. And if I think of anything, or if you think of anything, let me know and I'll let you know. Let me know and then I'll let you know. Sound good? Sounds confusing, right? But you know what? That's the way it is. We've got so many things going on. And some of the things I can talk about and some of the things I can't talk about. So it's kind of like I'm trying to like piece together the fragile quilt of my mind. And it doesn't always flow in a way that is seamless. All right. I see Helen's watching. Hey, Helen. All right. So let's get started. We've got 23 people watching. That's pretty good. Or should I do like Hour of Power again? I know people like that. Like, where's the Motivational Monday speaking? And I was like, it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. All right. Let's flip the camera. Marianne says, many irons in the fire, sometimes literally. Though recently I haven't been able to do much blacksmithing, so I feel as though I probably have forgotten everything already. So you've got your beading mat here. And let me lower this down. And I have this Javanese lampwork glass. And I thought that they looked like little monsters. And I think they're so charming. So that's what I'm going to use. If you're curious, I think these were $20 a strand yesterday. So I've got these. I'll probably only need one. I'm going to pick the best one. And when I say the best one, it's because I like the eyes to look a certain way. And then I need a needle and some kind of thread. And I'm using, you can use Fireline or whatever. This is a braided thread. Marianne says, I wasn't sure what day it was earlier, as they were supposed to test the fire alarms on Wednesday, but they are here today. Oh, that's confusing. So this is a bonded thread. And when they say that it's bonded, it basically means it's been heated as it's been, so that it kind of melts together and is super strong. This is 12-pound thread, so it's one on the heavier side. I've also got some seed beads, and these look like they're size 10 seed bead. I might use some of these, and these are like an 11. It just depends. I might mix and match, but we'll see. I'll at least start with these. And you can do whatever you want as far as your color combinations. You can have them match, but I thought, or not match and be contrasting. But I thought it would be cute if it matched, kind of, relatively matching. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle that I've threaded beforehand. I'm going to pick up maybe 12 seed beads. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. All right. And I'm going to string it to the bottom, but not quite to the end. And when I get to the end, I'm just going to make a loop like so. And I'm going to just tie it and then tie it again. Of course, doing this on camera is always a little bit tricky, but really it's just tying a loop with the beads, and you just don't want the beads to get in the way, because then you won't have a nice seamless loop. You'll have like whatever I have right now. So let me just do this, take this apart real quick. All right, so tie a loop, make sure the beads don't cross, and then tie another one. And that will help secure it in place. The only thing is, though, you don't want the beads to get in the way, because if the beads get in the way, then they don't make a nice seamless loop. Now, the other option is to pass the needle back through and do it that way, which we will do to strengthen it up. But we're just making a loop right now, like this. See? All right, and because I'm paranoid, I'm going to do another one. And this is called a surgeon's knot, where you kind of go back through that loop over and over twice. By over and over, I mean twice. And then what I'm going to do, because I don't want my design to hang by a thread, I'm going to reinforce it by going back through my loop. So that way there's at least 2 to 3 strands of thread going through. And then where I exit, I'm not going to exit in the same place that I started, because if you do that, sometimes all that weight goes in that one spot. And it over time, it can weaken your design. So if you have all of that pulling from one spot all the time. So wherever I exit, it's not going to be where I started. All right. So I'm going to do this. And once I get this nice and secure, which it is, I'm going to trim this. Sometimes people like the thread burners. I think I have one somewhere, but I really haven't seen it for a while. And I think like I ran out of batteries, so then that's why. So I just have this beaded loop, And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pass this through my manik-manik. Now, sometimes when you get these, there's still there's still bead release in the holes. So if you don't like the bead release, what you can do is get some warm water and soak them for like an hour or so and just scrub them with some warm soapy water, and it should come right off out of the holes. And or the other option, the old school option, is to soak them in vinegar. And vinegar, if you remember Heloise, I don't know if it's the same person who has Heloise, but they used to be like, clean this with vinegar, clean this with vinegar, everything, put the vinegar, vinegar, vinegar. So a lot of the people who used to get beading from a certain time period, they would soak their beads with vinegar as a way to clean them. Which is true, I guess. Like, sometimes people will clean windows with vinegar and newspapers. I've tried it, but I think Windex works better. But, that's an option. So anyways, you can soak them in vinegar and then wash them with warm soapy water and then just let them dry naturally. I put them out in the sun and they're dried in an hour. Um, don't like sometimes people will try to quicken the drying process by like just patting them down or whatever. And you can. The only thing though is that whenever I do that, I find that there's always like wets. There's always moisture somehow trapped in the tube or the hole of the beads or whatever, and it's always kind of like a pain in the butt. At least in my experience. So that's why I just set it in the sun and and let nature do its work. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass this up through my manik-manik, which is right here. And so we're going to have this. And the reason why I have this is so that I can have a loop at the top to hang my creature. Now, because the hole is as ample as it is, I'm going to string up seed beads, and you might need to use a slightly smaller one if the hole is not big enough. But I feel as though the hole will be nice and big enough. And what this is going to do is it's going to protect. It's not. So let me get some of those smaller seed beads and use those instead. Now this is a good opportunity for me to show you how to back things out. So you never want to use the front of your needle to go through like this and back your thread out, because what can happen is you can either um, pierce the thread and you're basically sewing it into place, or it will just cause a tangle in the knot. So if you make a mistake and you need to remove seed beads, use the eye end of the needle or the butt of the needle and go back through, and that will help take it off. Okay. All right. So I'm going to get some of these slightly smaller seed beads. And the reason why I'm doing this is that it helps protect the thread, because the thread that we're not going to necessarily um, go through this thread pass very much. So this is just one way that we can make sure that the thread we're using is protected in the bead, in the lampwork glass, doesn't inadvertently cut it or whatever. So, and if you are having issues where it's not fitting smoothly, just wiggle it a little bit as you pull, and sometimes that will help encourage it to go in. But also, you could also take them out and do them from the other side too. So that can help Because sometimes the holes are bigger on one side, if that makes sense. All right. So I'm gonna be like, how much did he get done? All he did is just make a loop and string a bead on. But sometimes you have to kind of play around with stuff. I always feel like whenever I do like a live demo, there's always something that goes awry, and that's sometimes good because then it can kind of show you how to troubleshoot, I feel. Sometimes when something is too perfect, I feel like it's a missed opportunity to learn. So right now I'm just stringing them up enough so that this bead hole is completely filled up and is kind of insulated from the glass from the thread. All right. So I have this. I have one extra on here, and I'm going to pull that one off. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is basically make a fringe on this little monster, and that will be its little tentacles. And you could be really festive and do like a lot of texture, or if you wanted to mix a color in, you could mix a color in, or whatever you want to do, you can do. It's up to you how you make your little critter. But I'm just going to do this like I'm going to make a fringe. So I'm going to string up some seed beads, and I'm not going to even count really. I'm just going to just keep adding them on. And I'm going to pull them down to the base of my project like so. And then whenever I reach the length that I'm happy with, I'm going to get a stop bead, which I'm going to use this stop bead so you can actually see it. And then pass it back up through the seed bead column. Okay. And that's basically how you make a fringe. And then you just add more and more of these little things, seed beads, and make little legs or tentacles for your creature. And then you're gonna be like, why am I watching a video on this? And it's pretty basic, but it's pretty fun, I think. Now I'm going to show you another option, and this is called a coral fringe or branch fringe. And this is where you string up some seed beads like so. And the next thing you do is you pick up a stop bead, and then you go back up through this column of seed beads, but only go to the point where you want your little branch to stem. And so I went up maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, and then I'm going to string up maybe 3 or 4 of these. I'm going to test it out, see how that looks. I'll maybe add 2 more. And then I'll add my stop bead and then go back up through the little arm that we just added, and then back up through the central main uh, corridor of beads. I don't know if corridor of beads is the right term, but it's that little column of beads that we started with. And then that way you can have it can have like a little walking thing if it's having, you know, a different, different look, right? All right. So I see a couple comments. Diane says, "This looks cute. Thanks." Julie's watching. Hey, Julie. Marianne says, "Basics and seed beads are good since I don't do it much." Well, I'm glad I could help. Michelle says it's great to see other options with seed beads because I do use them a lot. Um, so great. All right. So then you just repeat this over and over until you're happy. Um, I like to stagger the lengths on these so that they're all different kind of like levels. So if I have a long one, I like to do a short one. And I think that that is nice. It gives it a nice kind of variation of texture. So it's not all like the same length. Because if it's all the same length, it kind of looks almost like just a tassel. And this is basically a little monster tassel that we're making. But you know, I think it's like a cute idea. I think it's not too hard either. So if you has like kids, you could probably do this with kids and it would make a fun kind of Halloween craft if you wanted. And so I think that'll be fun. And so when picking up seed beads, well, for one, I have this mat here, and this is a German felt, but you could use whatever, and that helps the beads from going all over creation. Because I know that sometimes, like if you have like a slick table, like this wooden top, they can just bounce everywhere, and that's unfortunate sometimes. So, you know, um, Yeah. So if you have an issue where there's a gap, so if you can see there's a big gap here, just hold that stop bead very delicately and then pull the rest of it. And that will tighten up the tension a little bit. So if you do have any gaps in the thread and you can see the thread, that's what you want to do. So your goal is to make it so you don't see the thread. Because if you can see the thread, at least overtly, like that usually is a weak spot in your beadwork and things can get snagged on it and then you don't have a thing anymore. It's just a pile of beads. Um, so and I always like to reinforce my stitches um, if I'm going to do something that's going to be structural. But since these are kind of just mostly decorative, I don't need to go through them as much. Mary says, now I'm wishing that I bought some of these eye beads. Yeah, they're fun. I think they're fun. Um, all right. So once you're happy with as many tentacles or arms as you want, then you can go back up through your bead, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But I'm going to add a couple more of these legs. And, in theory, if um, I could have skipped putting that core of beads because I could have done this where I made a lot of loops and attached them through there to make it stronger. But I'm going to do it this way and hopefully it works out. All right. Now, if you wanted to, you could do all kinds of things. You could do peyote stitch on top of them to increase the visual girth of the tentacles. I'm not going to do that, but if you wanted to, you could. This is a great kind of easy, simple thing that you can customize and make your own, which I think is fun. And yeah. So what I'm going to do now is I'll add one more little tentacle. I think I should add one more branch tentacle at least because I added I only have two of those kind of branchy kind style, and I always like to have like an odd number. Um So I'm gonna do another of these branchy style ones. All right. And if you wanted to do like a spider, I guess you could do a spider too. If you kind of have to plan it out, or an octopus, you could do an octopus this way. Today we're making monsters. And I thought that the world needed a little bit of whimsy and lightness and not to be too serious. So that's why we're doing it today. So I'm going to pass this back up through those seed beads that I just strung on. And then I'm going to firm up the tension and then pass this back through. All right. Like I said, these are not really that structural. So you do have to be mindful of that if you are going to do anything where you like dangle things off of these. So just keep that in mind. All right. So I've added this fringe. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up through the manik-maniks. And hopefully I can get it through. And move my finger out of the way so I don't stab myself. Make sure these don't get caught on the little branchy antler antenna tentacles, whatever you legs. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this and I'm going to make a loop like so, and then pass this back through. This is called the slip knot, and that will help anchor that in place. And of course, I let go. So this will help anchor your work in place, and it creates a little knot so that it doesn't come loose. And if you want, at this point, you could probably take your needle off. Sometimes I tend not to take my needle off too much because then it's kind of a pain to keep threading my needle. But sometimes that needle gets in the way. So sometimes it helps out to do that. So, and then you just arrange them a little bit. And I probably can go back through. I'll do a pass through again. And reinforce it that way. Now, what I'm going to do when I reinforce them, you can go through and pass through and go back through and repeat your stitches. And that's one way to do it. Or let me see how I see this little thread. I must have got that tangled around and didn't do it the way I was supposed to. So I'm just going to pull it and see if it's going to work. Get that tension right. All right. And then just go back up through it. And hopefully that'll take some of that slack out. But so the goal of when I go back through my beadwork, it's to make it stronger. So the more beads, the passes of thread you go through your beads, the stronger your beadwork will be. If you go through only once, what happens is you're basically dangling by a thread, and sometimes that works out, but if you do have any structural things like this bail, you definitely want to have multiple passes so that you have a nice, tight, secure, um, your beadwork is strong. You don't want to have your stuff fall apart and then people like, oh my gosh, I got this thing and it fell apart. But yeah. So it's pretty simple. All we did is basically a fringe off of this manik-manik, but I think it makes a fun little creature, and you can customize that if you want and make it completely your own. And that's another option too. And I'm just gonna pass this back up through, and then I'll be done. We'll have to tie off. So I'm gonna tie it off. And I have a part where I messed up, but we're just gonna pretend like I didn't. We don't see that where I messed up, and and then we're just gonna call it a day. All right. So I pulled that nice and tight. I'm gonna go up pretty close and trim it. So there you go. There's your little creature. A little baby Cthulhu creature. Now, if you wanted to do this in wire, you could probably do this in wire, though you wouldn't be able to do the branching out. So just keep that in mind. But you could do it in wire. You would just make these into like the head pins. Like, I guess I can do one real fast. And now, so this is a variation on what we just did. So I would string up these. I don't know if this is going to work out or not, but I'm going to just try it. And if you like it, then that's great. If not, then, oh, wow, we tried it. I'm actually going to put one of these little red ones on the ends. I think that might be cute. So I'm going to string up this red one and then string up some of these green ones. And I'll put this in the frame so you can actually see it. So I see Diane said these would be fun to make for Halloween. Michelle says, love this, Andrew. Sandra says, so cute. I needed this. Carrie says, cute green monster alien. Suzanne says, love this. Perfect for Halloween. Janice says, cute. Lorraine says, I like this idea. I think I will have to buy some of these beads. Oh, thanks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some pliers because I don't have any pliers with me. And if you wanted to, you could add sequins, since we all love sequins now, after the tutorial I did the other day, right? All right. So I've strung these up, and I'm just going to make a wire wrap loop like normal. And try not to hit my phone. And I'm not going to do a crazy messy wrap loop. Or a messy wrap on this because it will add visual bulk to my piece, and I don't necessarily want that. So I'm just going to trim this. I held my wire so it didn't flick in my eyes. And if you need, you can use the notch closest to the tip to cinch in the wire. The only thing though, like you just did, I was just going to warn you, is that if you crunch it, you can crunch the beads, and then there'll be a powdery mess on your work table. So, so these ones, I would just make a couple of these in varying lengths. And you can see Me just using the head pin um, as a needle almost. Michelle says, I bought some sequins after you showed us how to use them. Oh, good. Thank you. Suzanne says, cute little creature, a bit of Cthulhu vibe. Cynthia says, so adorable. Thanks. Well, there's for some pretty hardcore things going on in the world right now. And sometimes it's good just to kind of make something fun and kind of happy and whimsical. And, it doesn't have to be doom and gloom all the time. I feel like one thing that we can do with our art and our creativity is create respites for the world so that we can, not necessarily tune out. Um, but I think if we are all the time like just going nonstop and, and fighting the good fight, we can get burnout, and that burnout is real. So it's good to take time for yourself to enjoy what you're fighting for, and just kind of pause and relax and have fun and laugh a little bit. And it's a good way to not get the burnout. I know a lot of people in the beading world right now are going through a lot of changes with the way that, with the economy and different things. Like people used to um, do shows all the time, and a lot of those shows are no more, or they're not in practice of doing those shows. Yeah, so I think it's good to remember to be gentle with yourself and enjoy, have fun. And, I think sometimes, especially if you're doing this as a business, sometimes it's easy to forget why we do the things we do. And it's good to reconnect with that kind of joy of doing something. Um, Susan says very hardcore. It's necessary to have a respite. And Marianne says too cute to be Cthulhu. Like Kid Cthulhu or like Baby Cthulhu. That could be cute. You make a little body and um, you know, have it hanging out. All right. So the next thing, if you want to turn this into wire, now I was thinking that maybe we could try one where we make bends in the wire, but I don't know how well the seed beads would actually fit over that. So I'm just going to test this out. If this doesn't work, don't hold me to it. But if there are like gentle curves, in theory, it will work. If they're too severe, they won't work. But if you want to have a little bit of movement in your tentacle, this may be an option. I think this will work. Um, I would pre-bend the wire before you put them on, because if you try to bend the wire while the seed beads are on there, I have a feeling that they will snap, crackle, pop in your eye. So avoid the snap, crackle, pop in your eye, and bend the wire beforehand. And then you can have like these little kind of undulations in your tentacles. If that's your flavor, maybe you're more straight lace with your tentacles, and maybe some of you like really like curvy, curly, twisty tentacles. So it's up to you what flavor your tentacles are. The things you don't think you're going to say that day, you end up saying. Like, I didn't wake up today and say, oh, what I would love to talk about is the curvature and of tentacles and what flavor everybody is. But that's if you want it to have a little bit of something something to it. You could also, instead of using head pins, you could just use straight, plain, rigid wire and just curl the ends. And that could be an interesting little design motif. But I've got this wire and I'm going to cut off a piece and I'm going to make a big loop. So if I want a bigger loop, I'll go closer to my hand because this is basically a mandrel and make that loop. And then once I have that loop, I don't want to close it up, but I'll open it up a little bit and I'll put on some of these tentacles. And yeah, so I'm going to put some of these tentacles on. This one looks kind of weird because all the other ones are straight, and then that one is kind of wonkadoodle. But we'll just go with it since I already did it. And then I hold this stationary, and then we'll use this finger to hold these out of the way so that they're not constantly getting in the way of my wire wrapping. And I'm going to just wrap 3 times, and then I'm going to string on this manik-manik. And I'm going to make another loop on top. And wrap it around. All right, easy peasy. Nothing too extra. But what I am doing is I am going to follow the curvature of the top of this bead so it looks like a bead cap. And I don't know if you can see that or not. But that's what I'm doing. I'm just wrapping this around and around, and it's going to follow the curvature of the top of this bead. And the reason why I'm doing this is because if I make just a simple wrap at the top, what's going to happen is it could pull through, and then you have this weird kind of space where the bead like swallows up the it would just kind of be loose. So I don't want that to happen. So I'm just gonna put this on here like so and just wrap it around, and then that's gonna make it so the bead doesn't slip over the coil of the wire wrap loop. And it doesn't have to be too big because like with the other side I did it a lot, but it's just enough so that it's larger than the hole, and that will help keep this from falling over. All right. So we are getting some spam. So I'm going to block this user. And a lot of spam today, y'all. Susan says, what brand of pliers do you use? Basically, whatever I can get my hand on. These ones are like old school. I think they're soft blacks. They're red handles, but I have Webers and Lindstroms and all kinds. All right. So I think all the spam people are blocked. So we should be okay now. That thing, usually I don't get a ton of spam. Usually William's the one that gets the spam, but If there's any links, if people are posting any links, don't click on them, y'all, because otherwise you may see something that you're not accustomed to. And or maybe you are. I don't know. I don't know what you look at. Um, so here's this option. This looks funky. I'm just gonna call it out. This looks funky. So don't do that. Or if you do it, make it more extra so that you can have a little bit of a. So there's the difference. So this is done with wire, and then this is done with the bonded thread, beading thread. So there you go. All right. Lorraine asked, I hope, or said, I hope there's some of these beads left. I love it. I do have extras, I believe. So you have to watch yesterday's video to see them. I believe they're $20 a strand. And we might not, we have them in all different colors. So I have them in blue and more blue. And there's some kind of longer yellow ones. And there are these are like that green, but they're longer green. So you could make, eyes on the tentacles or, long bodies, kind of like the difference between a squid and an octopus. They come in orange too. So there's all kinds. Now, if you order them and you weren't thinking of little monsters, now you probably are like, crap. All I can see is monsters now. But I think they're cute, so that's not terrible. So yeah. Susan says, a garden of colors and shapes. Yeah, I think they're fun. And if you get the green ones, Michelle, you get some of that peridot that could go along with it. You could, if you want these to be a little bit more textured, you could add that. Susan said you could be flowers with large eyes. So yeah, you could do a lot of different things. I saw these really cute little wire creatures, and I think those were charming. But those were, I think the ones that I saw were soldered. And I think they use soft solder, like the with the soldering irons kind of solder. So if you use copper wire, you could probably do it, and you could make little armatures using the copper wire, and then using these as the heads. So it's up to you. Um, so there you go. All right. Um, I'm trying to think. I was like, is there another way that I can make some more monsters with these manik-manik? I have a whole strand of these now, and I only made two. I guess I don't know. I'll have like an army of little monsters. All right. So I think that's it. Sometimes we can't all have like a long 3-hour video. We just have 1 hour videos. All right, I'm gonna flip this around. Hi, everyone. I'm gonna raise this up so I'm not hunching over and then have like 5 chins. So hopefully you had fun today. We made these fun little alien monster critters. If you like them, let me know. I think this one I could have made the loop smaller and it would look better. Or put a little bead cap on the end and disguise that loop. And it could have like a little skirt. What do you think? So that's what we did today. had a little fun, made these little monsters. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I used manik-manik, which is Indonesian lampwork glass, and we did a sell down yesterday. So if you want to see all of the manik-manik, you can watch this. You can go on YouTube. It's a little bit easier to scroll back and forth. So go on to the YouTube, scroll ahead. We did a lot of talk in the beginning. And if you want to just see the beads, you can bypass the talk. And yeah, so there you go. All right. Amanda says, "Ah, so cool, but I missed it. I will watch on replay." Thanks, Amanda. Yeah, it's super easy to watch on replay. You're already on the YouTube, so watch it on YouTube, and you can fast forward over me talking in the beginning or whatever if you want to watch it. I talked about some of the plans that we have, so I'm excited. Um, and if you wanted to not use these little alien heads, um, there are, let me see if I have them. I don't think I have them at least readily available, but there are little check glass face beads, and you could make a little fairy body. You would just make the right amount of legs and arms and whatnot. And then you could just make a little set of wings, just like this, the loop at the top, maybe a little bit more ovally. And you could have little wings and make little fairy creatures or little angels or whatever your flavor is. And if you didn't want to use these little monsters, make little monsters. So this has, even though it's pretty simple, you have a few different options, and you can still take the same idea and make it your own. So you say you're not into the whimsical aesthetic, and you're like, oh, what's he doing now with the monsters and fairies again? Um, you could easily take a regular bead that doesn't look like it has an eyeball on it, like this one does, and just make tassels. Like do this and make a fringe and have a beaded little tassel. So it does kind of have that anthropomorphic thing because it has that bead that has the little eye on it. But say you're like, too many monsters in my life. I need less monsters, more serious beige beads. You could definitely do this all in beige and it would look really cool, but it would look completely different. So the beads that you select will definitely determine the look of your finished piece. So yeah. Suzanne says, can you use Fireline? This one was done with a bonded thread like Fireline. I like that because it's a little bit sturdier. Nymo is a little bit wavy gravy style. And that I use if I'm going to do like a beaded fabric. I like Nymo because it has a nice drape to it. And like in that situation, like the wildfire or the Fireline is just too stiff for me. It's like that one is if you need more rigidity in your structure. So that's why it's good for your stuff like this, so that you can get kind of those, it has a little extra strength and like rigidity to it as opposed to like Nymo. If I did this in Nymo, it would feel so loosey goosey. It would feel like wrong, like it would feel like it's a living creature, which kind of could be cool, but I feel as though it would be in a not structural way that would make it fall apart. So I would skip like Nymo or Salamide or maybe Ceylon would work. Um, but this is a little bit more readily available. And just so you know, in the store, the physical store, I have one spool of this lime green Fireline that I bought. Like I think I bought it when I bought out a store, and I have no purpose for it except for maybe making these monsters. So if you're interested in that one spool of like neon lime green fireline, email the store because that's been in the store pretty much since we've opened. And people are like, oh, fireline, I love fireline. They pick it up and they see what color it is. And then they're like, they're like, no, not this one. And then they put it back. So, yeah. But yeah, so I'm like, I don't want it to end. I don't know. Maybe I'm like emotionally needy this week or something. I'm like, I don't want it to stop. But I know that if I have this in like a video that people will watch on the replay, I'm gonna be like super embarrassed later on that I'm just trying to like, drag it out. So I'll just stop there. All right. So if you need any beads, you know where to find us. You can find us on the internet, allegorygallery.com. You can email us at info@allegorygallery.com. I'm going to try to launch a make along kit for our takeover day. And I'm I'm still deciding if I want to do a bracelet or earrings. Because I feel like if I do earrings, they'll be super fast, at least with the way that I do stuff. So maybe not. But a bracelet, I don't know. So let me know if you'd be more apt to do earrings or a bracelet, and then we'll see who will win, who will be victorious. Marianne says new moon today, so that makes sense. So make those 9 new moon wishes. One of the people I follow, they write their intentions on bay leaves at the start of the new moon, and then they light them on fire. And they kind of, I think it's one of the exercises that makes your mind ready to go. So, like as the moon fills out, so too should your goal manifest. At least that's the idea of it. I'm always interested in the way that people have these different rituals and different ideas and thought patterns because as a creative person, I see that a lot of people do things in a certain way to create a certain result. And I think it's fascinating to study that because I guess it's because my process is so hither and thither sometimes that it's good to know those kind of like life hacks to access that part of my brain easier. So, anyways, there you go. All right. Well, I will talk to you all later. Peace out. Bye. See ya.